Well, a very good afternoon to yet another Uckfield Business Podcast, the first one of 2025, with me, Ian Noble, the Chamber Director for Uckfield Chamber of Commerce. And I'm joined this afternoon by my colleague and our Chamber President, Chris Dowling. Hello, Chris. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, not bad at all. Been a good start to the new year. Bit of a cough and a cold earlier on in January, but I'm all right now. And I can't quite believe that we're nearly in February. Where's this month gone already?
It'll soon be Christmas, won't it? So watch out. It'll won't be long. So extraordinary. Time just flies. But it's nice to have the longer evenings. Well, the days are getting longer, a lot more daylight now, which is nice. So that's a very good sign. So
They are indeed. And talking of Christmas, I've even booked the Chamber Christmas party for 2025. Yeah. I haven't told anyone when it is yet or where it is yet, but it is booked. So watch this space.
Right. It'll be very good when it comes. It'll be well worth attending. It'll be top quality.
Well, before we get our guests up, let's have a little chat, you and I, about a few things that have been happening this month. So we've had our Chamber members meeting, and at the members meeting last week, our Madam Mayor was speaking. Do you want to tell people about what Karen spoke about?
Absolutely, yes. Karen Bedwell, who's the Mayor of Uckfield, who I know well and many people know well. She's had this in her first year of being mayor. She's very keen to develop a contact between businesses and the community. And we call that corporate social responsibility. We know that many businesses have got an agenda. They want to get involved. They want to do things to help charities, community groups. So it may be financial. It's more likely to be providing materials and people and resources and perhaps a room or something like that. Karen's very keen to do that as well. So the natural connection is to talk to the Chamber about it. We had a preliminary meeting with her before Christmas. Ideas have evolved, ideas have developed. Karen's got a name for it. She's got a brand name for it. People meet people, which I think is very, very good. And at the members' meeting at the East Sussex National last Thursday, she spoke about it to the 50 or so people who were there, introduced the idea. It's supported and in tandem with Judith at the Volunteer Centre. She's got databases, she's got systems and structures which we can work into. We now have to get businesses to connect. We now have to get business to work this. But we're providing a service, and we believe there are businesses who want to do this. They haven't known the way in before. We're now offering the way in. And Judith can provide the opportunities and she can provide the events to people and the contacts. So it looks good. Positive things to be doing for businesses in the town. Local businesses help local people, help local charities, help local groups. From what I can see, everybody wins. We've got to get it moving, though.
Indeed. People need people is what it's called. And yes. Karen and I will be talking about it on Ashdown Radio tomorrow morning as well. So 11:35. You can hear more about that then. And we also had Chris Bending, who is the Director of Place at Wealdon District Council. He was our guest speaker, and he spoke about a number of things. And one thing he did say, and I can reiterate it on this podcast, is that he wanted to make a public apology for the early withdrawal of council tax and business rates, which happened between Christmas and New Year, and it caught a few people out. And he did say if anyone has any bank overdraft fees as a result of that early payment, then to contact Wealdon District Council and they will make that good. They will refund. No one should be out of pocket. So that was good. He also spoke about the local plan, the draft local plan, and also devolution of councils. I won't go into it here. We haven't got time for that today. But it was good to hear from Chris Bending last week as well, Chris, wasn't it?
Yeah, he spoke very well, and he was very. His opening comments were an apology for the mistake they made at Christmas time, which you've just spoken about. And just to reiterate, anyone who suffered any financial loss should talk to council, and let's hope they don't do it again. But it must be very embarrassing for them, and must have used up a lot of time and resources to resolve it. But the offer is there. At any cost, they will talk to council about it and get an answer from them. Yeah, it was a good speech, good presentation by Chris. Absolutely.
Indeed. And one other thing to talk about before we get our guests on, we'll talk about the Chamber events at the end of the podcast. So stay with us until the end. But one thing that is happening on Friday, the 21st of February, there's an opportunity for businesses to attend a 3-hour workshop on the subject of Net Zero 360. This is funded by Wealdon District Council. It is free to attend for businesses. And you can find out more information via a link on the Chamber website. and I will talk a little bit more about that at the end of the show as well.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting, very relevant, and it goes to back with our breakfast event as well. But obviously, you've got to talk further about it at the end of the meeting. But opportunity to come along and learn more and see where you are with net zero and what it offers, what it's about, and what you need to do.
Indeed. Shall we get our first guests up, Chris?
Let's do that then. That's what we're here for mainly. They've had enough of us. Here we go.
We're delighted to be joined today by guests Richard Oldfield and Sue Collett from Oldfield Smith. Welcome, guys.
Good afternoon.
How are you both? All right.
Very good, thank you.
And you're broadcasting from where? Your office in Uckfield, would that be right?
We're in the meeting room at Oldfield Towers in Office Village. Yes.
And just so people know, can people walk into your office and see you and say hello? Is that allowed?
They can. I mean, just bear in mind, we're out and about a lot on appointments, so always best to ring first. But there's always somebody in the office in normal office hours.
Usually me.
So whereabouts are you in Uckfield, so people know?
We're in Office Village, so we're behind Waitrose, so we're very central to Uckfield.
Very good, very good. And it's great that you're joining us today. You're one of 2 or 3 corporate agents in the town, and we're really pleased that you guys have come on. We want to talk to you today about properties in Uckfield, in the High Street mainly, and I think people are interested in what goes on in our High Street, and they think it's full of charity shops, nail bars and barbers, and to some extent they're right. But equally, there's other shops as well. And most people I talk to that are visiting Uckfield say what a wonderful high street we've got. You know, it's full of independent stores, and they're not wrong in many cases. Now, what we've done today is we've selected 4 properties that you have marketed. A couple of them have got tenants in now, a couple of them are still vacant. So we want to talk about those, but also to hear from you guys about the general market in Uckfield. So if someone put a shop on the market, you know, is it likely to be there for long, or is it likely to shift quickly? What's your take on it?
Good question. A lot depends on the size of the property. The 4 you've highlighted here all went relatively quickly. And in some instances, there was more than one person for each unit. And I appreciate you want to go through them in order. But in general, on average, I would suggest between 2 to 3 months before someone's actually in there. Doesn't take very long at all. The side of the market that perhaps is suffering a little bit would be larger units, commanding a higher rent, but smaller sort of general lock-up units of around 500 square feet. There's always a ready market, and surprisingly, there's actually still a very good demand, not just here in Uckfield, although this is done very well. The Wilton district in general, very good demand, and actually not a lot of availability. So you don't see very many empty shops around. They do find occupiers fairly swiftly.
Very good. Thank you, Richard. Chris, do you want to come in and ask about one of these properties? You can pick one. Go on.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, looking at these 4 properties that we've got on screen, I recognise all 4 of them. I drive past, I walk past. The one which perhaps I'll ask about first is the one in the top right corner of the green fascia, because that looks unoccupied. Whereas the other ones, so the other one, because the unoccupied one is up by the Framfield Road junction, isn't it? But perhaps the green one, that's TN22, isn't it? What that was TN22 there?
Yeah.
There is somebody now in there that's fitting out. It has formally completed, so it has now got a tenant. They had anticipated being open for trade on the 1st of February. That does appear to be a little bit optimistic.
Saturday.
They've been relying on trade and getting tradespersons in is actually very difficult. They're all very busy.
And it's Christmas as well.
Christmas obviously
cause delays.
But they are there. I don't want to take away their surprise and their grand opening. but again, another new shop for the town, another independent, which is great.
Yes.
And the couple who will be trading there have actually had experience of retail in a different town. They sold that particular business as a going concern, and targeted and highlighted Uckfield as a place they wanted to trade from as their next point. So they knew what they were doing, and I think they'll do very well.
Yes.
What's interesting is if I can steer down to the bottom
with
line
them, they saw opportunities in Uckfield. They saw Uckfield as a good place to run a business. They
give us a target town. Oh yes. I mean,
we're vibrant,
what I'll say
successful.
is on each of these, each tenant, again, all independents, they all selected and chose the town specifically for their business.
Very good. Tribute to the town. Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
What's interesting is can I push you around to the bottom right-hand side, which is the Newtown property opposite the police station. That has now completed. It completed yesterday, so this is really good timing. So the fact the tenant hasn't actually picked up the key yet. I've still got the key for that, but they have completed, and that completed yesterday afternoon. There's no secret on who's going to go to that one. There's actually a planning notice on the door there, so people going past will see it. And they have applied for an off-license consent there. So it's going to be an off-license amongst other things. They'll need an extensive fit-out. But again, for a property that's not in the central position that you could argue has no parking, and I think out of all the things we've dealt with, probably one of the most challenging, still finds a tenant. And it took about 3 months to find a tenant for that one. So again, I always say there is somebody for every property. Some go quick, some take a little longer, but demand is still there. And it just proves my point earlier that there's just not enough stock to fill the demand, which is actually a huge plus.
Okay, can I come in and well, congratulations first of all in letting that one, because it is in an awkward position. We know the Witchy shop was in there for a little while, but that then moved and then folded. But it's a congratulations to you and to market it and to get a tenant in there. I do wonder though about if you're not going to buy a case of wine very easily from them, though, are you? Where are you going to put it? How are you going to put it in the back of your car from the off license? But we'll worry about that later, I'm sure. Any ideas on timing then? If they haven't picked the keys up yet, it's going to be a few months yet, isn't it? I would imagine.
So yeah, if the application's now in, that'll take the standard 8 weeks. But the fact is they have completed, so they're not going to rely on that. They'll pick up the keys, I'm sure, any moment, and they'll start their shop fit.
Very good, very good. Now let me bring you to the central one then. We do know who's in there. Lovely young lady by the name of Georgia. And Georgia has since joined the Chamber of Commerce as well. So I'm delighted. Excellent. Welcome to the Chamber, Georgia. She came to our members meeting last week and I was privileged to interview her in front of about 50 people. She was dead nervous, but it was fine. It went really well. Got some great pictures back of that, by the way. Looks like we're singing a duet at one point with a microphone between us, but we weren't, I can assure you. Anyway, she's an independent florist. She's got a lot of experience as a florist. She was telling us. Working, I think, was it Epsom, Chris? She came from originally.
I think that's what she said. Yes, yeah,
something like that.
And she cherry picked. She beamed in on Uckfield. She wanted Uckfield. She told me
she did because her nan lives here apparently, which is lovely, so that she can go and see her nan. But Richard, there's a real story behind this property, isn't there? Or Sue, which one of you is going to tell us about that?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. So obviously we had that one and the one to the left, which is 89 High Street, both available at the same time. Again, Georgia specifically wanted to come into the town. She initially looked at 89 High Street, a little bit further up, and we had another applicant for that particular property. And at that point, it wasn't common knowledge that 102, the one she's actually in, was going to be vacated. Tenant had to come to the end of a lease, but it wasn't common knowledge and it wasn't in the marketplace at that time. So George looked at 89 High Street, somebody else looked at it too. In fact, a good amount of interest in that. The view that Alana took is that with George's particular business, she would probably need and rely on a bit more footfall, hence 102 High Street. So knowing this, the landlord decided to go with another applicant for that particular property. George obviously slightly disappointed, and I said, well, look, just bear with me. There is something else which I feel is probably better suited for you in any case, in a better location for her particular business. As soon as that became available, we got her straight in there. And everything just dropped into place. It was, the right place, the right size, the right rent, fitted very well, and we're able to wrap that up very quickly indeed. And the gap between that property being vacant and George actually taking it over, signing up and having possession was very short indeed. But it was just a matter of having the right applicant at the right time, and knowing that this was going to come to the market. And although she was disappointed at the time, I said, well, just hold on a minute. This could work out very well, actually, for everybody concerned. And as you say, it's just dropped into place. It looks great. She seems to be doing extremely well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Richard, you can buy your wife some flowers there for Valentine's, and so you can drop a hint to your husband as well, because she was saying that she really wanted to focus on Valentine's, and rightly so as a florist. So let's make sure that we support her through that key date in her calendar that's coming up, and it's great that she's now part of the town, the high street. And even better, a member of the Chamber of Commerce as well. What more could we ask? Really good.
And she's very. She was when I chatted to her last Thursday at the meeting. Her mother was with her, and she very enthusiastic, very committed, very ambitious. Wants to make it work, and it's a sort of tribute to Uckfield that she's come to Uckfield because some personal reasons coming to Uckfield, but also she saw Uckfield as the place to be. Could see the diversity that we have, could see the nature of the local economy, the high street economy. And I think we wish her every success. And she's a young lady, who's probably in her early 20s. That's first time running a business. Big step, brave move for a young lady to take like that. And I wished her well, and I'm sure the whole chamber wishes as well. And let's go in there and buy flowers there. And Valentine's is 2 weeks time, so I will bear it in mind.
There you go. I'm sure Mrs. Dowling will look forward to that.
I will be reminded. So.
So tell us about 89. Who's in that one?
So there's a young lady. She's gone in there. She's obviously, you can see that she is hairdressers. She's been in there probably about 4 weeks now, I'd say. Yeah, about 4 weeks. Yeah. Hopefully she'll be doing very well as well.
Is that right? Aspire?
Sorry?
Is that what the business is called? Aspire? Am I right with saying
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay. So she's up where the old Love Cocoa was. Love Cocoa relocated. The ladies' retail clothes shop, and she's in there. So good luck to her as well. We wait with bated breath for the new tenant for TN22. We can't wait. I don't know how you guys sleep at night. All these secrets you keep, you can't tell us.
It's a very difficult one. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. But I can ask the question all the time. But they're going to want to. I don't want to break their big surprise and their big grand opening. And we have to keep all these secrets, not just here, but in lots of properties. Yeah. And that's absolutely the case. But just going back to that point on 89. Huge investment on that property. It was still in good order when she took it, but has fitted it out extremely well and thrown a lot of money at it to create something which is really special. I mean, I have to confess I've not been in there because it's not for me, but
I have.
Again, target town was Uckfield. I'm happy to plough some money into this and invest heavily into a business. I mean, obviously she's a hairdresser, she's had that trade, but rented a chair somewhere else. But taking a plunge to take on a lease, a rent, and everything else that goes with it. And good for her. What I will say is that at the moment, from where we're sitting, there's not a single property in the high street that we have currently available. I wish you had more space, but that's from a selfish point of view. Demand, as I said before, is still very, very good. And these things don't take very long before they go. So, the high street is looking very positive indeed.
Indeed. Thank you, Richard.
Very good news.
And Sue. Thank you very much indeed.
It is good news.
Yeah. Before I let you go, we can also tell you on this pod today that the NatWest, the old NatWest building, lots of work going on in there. Upstairs is going to be converted into flats, I'm told, but downstairs is going to have a multinational in there. I know that, as I've spoken to the architect. The agent for that one is out of town. You guys must hate that when that happens, but nevertheless.
No, it's you know what, it really isn't an issue. With the commercial guys, we tend to help each other out. So no, I'd say personally, I don't have an issue with that one at all. But like you, we know who's going in there. I don't think it's common knowledge particularly, but it is a national. And I think again the town will benefit from that. So it's all about not what's good for us, but what's good for the town in general. And this is all good news.
It is. I've just had a coffee.
Hearing that the NatWest building is going to be occupied, a few doors down the hill is WH Smith's, and we heard heard the report in the news last week about Smith's looking to close shops. That would be a blow if Smith's were to leave Uckfield, and what would happen to the post office as well, or would someone who buys Smith's, perhaps in the sort of various options there might be, would they take on the post office? So there's a bit of a question mark over that site at present, and where it might go to from there. Let's sort of hope it sort of smooths its way through, but it would be potential to be awkward, but potential to just sail through and be okay. Do we know when the NatWest people when the people will be going to NatWest? Any indication on date on that?
I've heard Q2, but we've got no. That's not substantial, so we just don't know.
No, okay, fair enough.
And of course, the other thing about Smiths is they also own Sussex Stationers. So
yes,
hey ho. Listen, that's for another show. That's for the future. Richard and Sue, is there anything else that you'd like to add this afternoon?
No, and all I'm going to say is that obviously we're talking about Uckfield, and this is Uckfield based. But for us, because we just do the commercial property, we do tend to do the distance. And Uckfield doesn't stand alone. The other towns in the Wilton districts are also looking very good, and demand for those towns is equally as good. And the availability of the supply of retail units and actually anything in the commercial market is quite tight. So we're always looking out for new instructions. Things move, and we're here to do business.
You are indeed, and we thank you very much for being part of this today and being part of the chamber. We value your input.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Until the next Curry Club, we'll see you then at the next Curry Club.
Absolutely.
Oldfield Smith with Dawson Hart run the Curry Club, so that was great on Tuesday night, wasn't it? It was good to see you both then.
Yes, it was.
And so thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Richard.
Okay.
And Sue.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Right, Chris,
yes.
we're sailing through this podcast really quickly today. I've just had a bit of a cough. Hopefully you didn't get it on the pod. I managed to mute myself in time. But we have another guest today. We've got two guests,
Indeed.
one but two to kick the new year off. And here's a clue as our next guest. So let's get Emma and Izzy up with us if we can. Gordon, there we are. So waiting patiently in the wings. Good afternoon,
Hello.
Emma.
Hello. Lovely to be here.
Hello. I mean, we've gone from Oldfield to Oakfield. So
I know.
we're in Uckfield. So
And we're talking about Uckfield. Very confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So welcome to Emma. Welcome to Izzy. How are you, Izzy? You okay?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks, Ian. How are you?
I'm all right until I started coughing a minute ago. So,
I know, I saw.
He'll be okay. He'll be all right.
Right. Enough of that. So, welcome, guys. First of all, you haven't been in Uckfield too long, have you? Tell us, Emma, first of all, how long have Oakfield been in Uckfield?
Oakfield joined Uckfield. No, we came to Uckfield in April of last year. So yeah, not very long at all. We're obviously quite new to the market, but it's an exciting market to be in. Great to be obviously with you guys as well, because I think that's really helped us within the town. So yeah, very, very new.
Well, not too new. I mean, you're nearly a year now, but relatively new, I suppose. And tell us where you are in the high street, Izzy. Whereabouts are you?
We're just opposite Smith's, where you touched on earlier. So we are on the high street. We've got a lovely little office there. And yeah, it's all going very well so far.
And it's noticeable at the moment. You can tell where you are because you've got scaffolding outside, but hopefully it's not going to be there for much longer, Emma. Is that right?
Hopefully not. No, scaffolding in front of an estate agent is never ideal when they block your windows and people can't see in the way that we'd like them to. But no, we're not anticipating it to be up for too much longer. Unfortunately, necessary work called for it.
Yeah, and you've really thrown yourself into the community because you were part of late night shopping and you had the art trail in there, Izzy. So that went well for you on the whenever it was in December.
It did. It was great fun. We had lots of people in as well, so that was fun. And I think we had we did have the naughty elf in there as well for the children's game. So yeah, a pleasure to be part of that. Thank you for
good. Right, so you're going to tell us a little bit about the residential market today. We've heard from Oldfield Smith a little bit about the commercial market. Emma, I think you're going to talk about sales first, aren't you?
Yes. I think obviously, I think as soon as you tell someone that you work in a estate agency, the first thing they say is what's happening in the sales market. Right. So many people watch the news and read the media, and I think it would just have you believe it's all doom and gloom when really that's not the case at all. Ultimately, people still want and need to move house, so there's always going to be that demand for property. We're seeing the average price of a property in Uckfield increasing. We're getting on for pretty much £400,000 now as the average sales price, and that's a really positive place to be. We've had a couple of over 200 properties come to the market in the last 3 months, and you think in that time we've had Christmas as well, so obviously that does slow things down. So there's a nice steady flow of properties moving. A lot of people want to move into the area. I think schooling's playing a big part in that. Obviously Uckfield College recently got its outstanding Ofsted report. So everyone wants a good education for their children. And so that's really bringing more people into Uckfield. I think obviously there's so much the town offers as well as that. So it's becoming such a place where families want to settle. And we're definitely seeing that with the applicants that we've got coming through and the people that are looking to move into the area. And we're seeing that push up house prices as well, which is fantastic for the town and fantastic for the people that own property there.
Are you able to tell us what the average house price is? How do you do it? How do you measure the average house price?
It's a tricky one because I think when you look at Uckfield, there's such a spectrum of property, isn't there? So go slightly outside of the town and you've got these lovely rural homes. You've obviously got some smaller flats, but I think so much of the town actually is your fundamental family home. So I think when you're looking at an average house price, that is what you're getting. You're getting that sort of £400,000. And for that, you can have your 3, sometimes at a push 4-bed family home, which is, I think, what the average person strives to be able to purchase in their life, isn't it?
Very good. Okay. And just another question from me. Sorry, I wasn't going to interrupt too much. Apologies.
That's right. I like it.
My podcast, only joking. So the new houses that are coming in being built at the moment, what does that do to house prices generally in the town, do you think?
I think it helps them, to be honest, because I think you've got to look at the population. It's ever increasing, isn't it? So having more property does then push up that average. New houses tend to be a little bit more expensive as well. You're paying for that premium for the fact that sort of no one's had it before. So I think that does help to push it up. And again, it does bring more people into the town, which then again helps the economy in the town as well. So I think all in all, we welcome these new houses because they're necessary. As Richard mentioned earlier, similar with commercial properties, residential, where there is not the supply to meet the demand. So we need to keep introducing these properties without a doubt. And I think ultimately as well, at the moment, we're seeing changes to stamp duty coming in. So that is again playing a part. So at the moment, that average house price at £400,000, you're going to be paying £7,500 in stamp duty. Fast forward to April, you're going to be paying £10,000 in stamp duty. So you're going to see quite a difference. And equally for those first-time buyers, currently, if you're a first-time buyer, you're not paying stamp duty on anything under £400,000 and under. That's dropping to £325,000. So again, a first-time buyer can be buying that average house at the moment and not paying stamp duty. That average house price, that with that stamp duty change, there is going to be that stamp duty for those first-time buyers. So I think that does play a part. But again, I don't think that we're really seeing an impact of that. It's a necessary evil, stamp duty, unfortunately. It's always going to be around. It chops and changes, doesn't it? But it's certainly, in our humble opinion, not having too much of an impact on the market. Yes.
Chris?
I'm just always curious as to, it's good to hear people want to come to Uckfield. I've lived in Uckfield. I've known Uckfield for 50 years. I've lived here for not quite 50 years, but I lived here for a long time. But where are they coming from? Is it people from the locality? Is it people from East Grinstead, Hayward Heath, Lewis? Is it people from further afield? Where do you see the demand coming from? People want to move to Uckfield from where?
Kind of all sorts of areas, really. We're still seeing a slight influx coming in from sort of London as well. Obviously, I think we saw quite a change over COVID times. Obviously,
there was quite a surge, wasn't there? Yes,
there was quite a surge.
I think that applied to East Grinstead, Hayward Heath, and towns in the north of London as well. So there was sort of 40, 50 mile sort of orbit then. So, yeah,
exactly. And equally, I think you've got to look at the cost of house prices. When you're looking at cost of house prices in East Grinstead, for example, you are paying that bit more money. So people are looking to move. They want a slightly bigger house. Uckfield brings so much positivity as a family for family homes, and like we said earlier about education and stuff. So we're seeing people come in from those areas where perhaps that next step on the ladder is just that bit too expensive, but Uckfield allows them that opportunity to get that slightly larger home.
Yeah, it's giving more scope, giving better opportunities then, which is good to hear. I think that's always been the way, because when I bought my first house on Manor Park years and years and years and years ago, it was cheaper to buy. Although I worked in East Grinstead, it's cheaper to have a house in Uckfield. But so that dichotomy continues today. So that's interesting.
There was a phrase that they used to use in Hastings, didn't they? Do you know what that was, Emma, for people coming from London?
Oh, I did. My mind's gone completely blank.
They used to call them DFLs.
Oh, maybe I didn't know.
DFL. You're a DFL.
Down from London. Yeah.
I mean, Hastings definitely saw its fair share of London influx, that was for sure.
There we go. Right, Emma, carry on. We probably need to start picking up the pace a little bit here, because I know you've got other things you want to tell us about this afternoon.
To be fair, that probably gives us a good overview of where we are from a sales perspective anyway. So I'll hand back to you to maybe have a chat with Izzy.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you very much indeed. So, Izzy, you're going to tell us a little bit about the lettings market, because not everyone is able to buy their own home. And obviously then, to rent a property is the next best thing. So you're going to tell us a little bit about that.
I am, yeah. So I've sort of seen such a vast of the market. I started as a negotiator, so I really understand sort of an applicant's point of view in it. I moved over to the marketing, so I now understand the importance of that being done well. And I've now sat myself in the manager's seat, having gained my qualification, and sort of deal with the whole lot of it now. So I've got a good idea of all sides of the market. Essentially, the lettings market is probably one that's more spoken about at the moment, with lots of information and opinions circulating around social media and other networks, along with everything else that does the same. But in a nutshell, the lettings market across the UK, I think, will always be buoyant, with more people coming over to the rental properties as a long-term plan nowadays. Properties continue to be used as an income from investment, and homes are always needed. So we're always going to have a market there. I think where previously there was maybe a little bit more stigma around renting, and that does seem to be removed now. And with house prices and mortgage rates increasing, lots more people are looking to settle into rented family homes for the long term. Again, for like those first-time buyers, like you say, Ian, they may need to find themselves to start off with a rental property to get things moving. The Uckfield market in particular is a really exciting market to be in, like Emma says. It provides such a versatility of properties, where there are still a fair share of flats for those first-time buyers or independent livers or couples. But we do find that most of the market is built up with family homes. The great thing about the homes available in our patch in Uckfield is the option that it provides. There's so much choice in the houses that are available. So you've got a lot near the town centre, but we also have the joys of offering those properties in the more rural areas with land around them. So it gives a much broader net to meet lots of people's requirements. And therefore, some people that may have not previously found their required home on the rental market before are now. Obviously, the supply in Uckfield, I think, is can be seen as less than maybe some of the other areas that we work in, with around about 80 properties coming to the market over the last 3 months. This does, although, provide a really good positive opportunity to investors in the area where more homes are needed, and there's just not enough there. The average rental value is around about £1,700 a month. so as we can all appreciate, a great income, and in turn really good rental yields to landlords to come with that. So yeah, it's a really good space in the market to be at the moment. Obviously, we're new to the area, so really excited to carry on getting involved. With the demand of the properties is constantly there, I'm sure every applicant or every tenant can agree that sometimes it can be quite daunting when you're searching for a property because things are moving so quickly. But that is where working with an agent is so important, just as much as it is with landlords. Being an applicant and working with a great agent is just as important to make sure they're really listening to your requirements. You've got a good working relationship with them, and that they are proactive and giving you those options. So you've got the chance of securing a new home. So my best advice would always be to pop into the offices, register with people, register over the phone if you can't get there. But that face-to-face relationship really does make you more memorable, and builds that relationship with your agent so they can really sort of understand what you're looking for and give you suitable options, so you get first dibs. Obviously, in the market at the moment, there's lots of unsurety about where we're going to go, with the Renters' Rights Bill coming up, which we will be touching on next. So I'll pass you back to Emma to get started with those sorts of things, and I'll pop back in later to talk about how that will look for tenants.
Thank you, Izzy. So Emma, the Renters' Rights Bill, I don't know anything about this. Tell us about that, please, if you would.
The Renters' Rights Bill is a significant change that is coming to the private rental sector. I think, again, much like many things, the media is speculating it to be such a negative thing. I think the big thing people are hearing is the abolishment of Section 21 notices. So essentially, you will not be able to serve your tenant with what's called a Section 21 notice to get possession of your property. So I think this is causing so much panic amongst landlords to think they're not going to be able to get their properties back. But the reality is you absolutely can. Now, if you need to sell your property or you need to move back into your property or your tenant's in breach of their tenancy agreement, you can issue what is now going to be known as, well, there already is a Section 8 notice, but that will evolve to allow you to use this notice to get possession going forward. So it is a big change, and with it comes other changes. So as well as that, landlords are going to have to join an ombudsman and they're going to have to register to essentially be a landlord. But these are things, if I'm honest, we probably encourage as an agent because we're very fortunate. We work with a lot of landlords and we work with a lot of good landlords. But unfortunately out there are some not so good landlords, shall we say. And this is what this is here to protect tenants from. And it means that tenants who have to deal with those not so good landlords have got opportunities and avenues that they can go down to get the support that they need. They're bringing in the decent home standard, which again, I think brings so much worry to landlords. They're going to have to do so much work to their properties. But essentially, that's already here. We already have the Housing Health and Safety Rating System. We already have the Homes Fit for Human Habitation Act. Decent home standard is basically just a combination of the two. So yes, there's big changes coming, particularly with the obviously loss of the Section 21 notice. But from a landlord's perspective, I think we've got to embrace the change. We've got to accept it for what it is. Be with an agent that can educate you. Be with an agent that can support you and hold your hand through this, and make sure you educate yourself, because then you know that you will be protected. But certainly the biggest bit of advice I'm giving to our landlords is, if you are a good landlord, which fortunately they are the people that we deal with, you've got nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about at all. Just make sure that you understand that there will be some slight changes. Obviously, when it comes to selling, currently a Section 21 notice is only a 2-month notice. The Section 8 will be a 4-month notice to increase that security for tenants. So it does extend it somewhat for landlords, but plan ahead. I think that is the only crux of this, really, is obviously to keep planning.
Thank you. That's really interesting. I never knew it. Section 20, Section 21, 28, and all these numbers.
There's lots of them.
How do they think of these things? I don't know. And Izzy, you want to add something about in terms of the renters' rights then? If you're renting it, Emma's spoken about landlord's position, but...
Yeah, so renters, obviously it will be a change for them too. I think the main thing for them will be the removal of fixed-term tenancy. So people are used to, at the moment, starting a tenancy with a fixed term. So an initial term where they're fixed into that contract. Typically, it's probably about 6 to 12 months. We find more often 12 months. Within that fixed term, as it stands at the moment, the tenant or the landlord cannot give notice until the end of that term. However, obviously, as they will be removed, every contract will go on to a periodic contract, which is a month-to-month rolling contract with no fixed term at the start. Tenants currently only have to give 1 month's notice to end their tenancy. That will be extended to 2. And for landlords, like Emma says, at the moment, they need to give 2 months' notice, but when this comes into play, that will be extended to 4 months' notice, along with the conditions that Emma kindly touched on. So it does provide far more flexibility to tenants, hand in hand with the extended notice periods for landlords with regards to rent increases. So at the moment, they can give you 1 month's notice to increase your rent. This will change to 2 months. So it gives tenants far more time to prepare to pay more and get the arrangements in place to do so going forward. So definitely, in that sort of way, a lot more flexibility for tenants. And the other main thing that provides flexibility is the subject around pets. So there's a lot of stuff going on around this subject at the moment. So landlords will no longer be able to refuse pets unless there is an applicable reason as to why they can't. So for example, the tenant lives in a flat and the leasehold doesn't allow for pets. In that case, the landlord is able to then refuse pets. But on the most part, landlords will need to be more open to the idea of pets into the property and unable to refuse them. I think in turn, sorry, Ian, we will find that tenants feel more comfortable in their properties and then hopefully stay there for a little bit longer, which provides in the end landlords with longevity and a further income.
Thank you, Izzy. Thanks very much indeed. Chris, you want to just say something before we? Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that explanation. I've heard bits about Section 21, and I've got a better understanding of it now. So thank you for that. And I was talking to an agent the other day who was sort of taking me through it as well. I just thought perhaps just going back to residential, I'm sort of conscious of time as well. These 4 impressive properties on the screen here. Do you want to give us a quick trot round where they are and what you can tell us? Just quick snapshots on them. Is that possible?
So of course, so these are ones that we have sold.
They're sold, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. So as you can see, we've got quite a variety of different types.
Yes.
So we are range. I think this really does show that diversity of property that there is in Uckfield. It shows us, obviously, we have got your family home. If I remember rightly, this one's located in Ridgeway, Ridgewood. Yeah. This one's located in Ridgewood. So such a popular residential area for, like I say, those family homes. And then off the opposite spectrum, we've got the one in the bottom right hand corner, very vastly modernized, well done property, that it just goes to show that we are dealing with complete opposite ends of the market when it comes to Uckfield versus sort of many other areas that we deal with.
Yeah. Indeed. Thank you, Emma. Yeah, so for the benefit of the podcast, you've got they're mainly detached properties that we're looking at here. But watch back and then you'll be able to see for yourself, or go onto the Oakfield website and you'll be able to see
what's available.
Ladies, anything final that you want to add today? Thank you very much for joining us, of course, but thank you. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, I think we've covered it. Just thank you so much for having us. It's been lovely.
Good. Exactly that. And it was it's really lovely. Obviously, I started with the starting up the Uckfield letting side of our branch, which is where I met yourself, Ian. And I can't say enough how fun and exciting it is to go to the networking events. I never really thought that I'd be sat here talking in front of 50 people at the networking events and broadcasting myself live on a podcast. But it's such an opportunity that businesses around the area should be doing, and it is so much fun and definitely good to add to the CV.
Thank you, Izzy. And what a beautiful segue into our events. Producer guy Gordon, let's get the events up. Let's have just briefly stay with us, ladies. We meet in person and we meet online every month as a Chamber of Commerce. We're online next Wednesday morning between 9 and 10 a.m. Our guest speaker is a wonderful speaker, a lady called Jo South from UK Growth Coach, going to be talking about how businesses can help themselves grow. I know this is something that's very dear to your heart,
Chris, as a business mentor.
Very much so. Yes, very important.
So join us next Wednesday, the 5th of February at 9 a.m. Chamber members get the link sent to them. If you're not a member of the Chamber and you'd like to join, then just drop me an email to that email address that's there, and that will find you, and we'll send you the link. So that's next Wednesday. We then do all this again in just 3 weeks' time, no less, when we have guests from Adams and Reamer's solicitors. They're going to be talking about lease renewals as well. So, you know, there's a segue and a link there from the pod today. And so that's all happening again in 3 weeks' time. And Claire Allen will be joining me on that one, I think. And then we move on to our next networking breakfast. Izzy, you've already mentioned these events. So we're at Hendel Manor Barns on Friday, the 21st of February. If you haven't got your ticket yet for this one, you need to move quickly because places are limited. We've sold 20 places already. We've got a few left, but it's going to be a really good event. Everyone gets a chance to speak for a minute. And our speaker is a guy called Ian Smallwood from Brighton University, and he's going to be speaking about Net Zero 360. And this is an introduction to the subject. And then if people want to book on the workshop that I mentioned at the top of the podcast, then they can do so and stay around for the morning. But the two events are mutually exclusive. Is that the right expression? You know, you don't have to go to both of them. You go to one or the other. So that's the next networking breakfast. And then I'm proud and pleased to be able to host for the third year running, I think, the Mega March Hospice Quiz for the Friends of Sussex Hospices. This is a smiley lady from the quiz. See how much alcohol is on the table there. Goodness me. Benefit of the podcast. There's half a bottle of wine and pints of beer and all kinds of gin and tonics, all kinds of things. This is at the Civic Centre on Wednesday, the 19th of March. Tickets are £20 per person. It's all for charity, of course. I'll be setting the questions for all people, to all levels, all subjects, all interests. So maybe you can get a team together from Oakfield Property. Come along, ladies. Do you fancy that?
Yeah, sounds great.
Be a great night out.
That's great.
Great night out. I promise you it'll be a good evening. So details of that and how to book your places are on the Chamber website as well. And then finally, I just want to mention our AGM. This is coming up at the end of March. This is for our members only. So if you're not a member and you want to come to this, you'll have to join. It's on Thursday, the 27th of March. This is when we maybe vote you back in as president, Mr. Dowling.
Possible. All things are possible.
On that date. And our speaker on this occasion is our MP, Mims Davies. So whatever your political persuasion or colour, you'll be pleased to hear Mims speak. She's highly entertaining.
Very good, yes. Yeah.
Very personable and engaging individual, as you'd expect from your MP. So she's joining us on that occasion. And it is free for our members. It's the only free event we put on in the year. So again, get yourself booked into that. Booking is open on the Chamber website. So we're 2 minutes over time, Chris. That's not too bad, is it? Given we've had
very good. Yeah. Very well organised, very well planned, very well produced. So
there we go. Yeah, and that's important. Very well produced. Thank you, producer guy. Gordon Manklow. Nearly forgot your name then for a minute, but thank you, Gordon, so much for producing the show. We'll be back again, as I said, in 3 weeks' time with the final slide. Have we got a final slide? I think we have. Thank you for joining us. Thanks, everyone. Have a good rest of the afternoon.
Thank you. Bye.